The new mining town of Tinney is proving to be a popular location for Philadelphia citizens to take up residence, with the town's population soaring to a whopping 4,000 people. But the lack of job opportunities in the area has seen a rise in complaints to the city planning department. New residents have swiftly felt the negative impact of the lack of connectivity to the rest of the region, with those without their own cars being forced to walk for hours to reach work and shopping, and those with cars being forced to sit in long queues of traffic. Not only that, but a rise in crime in the area has raised questions over the lack of entertainment, especially amongst the youth. With this information to hand, the city has pledged major investment into the town, with plans to build 2 new train lines to connect the residents to the rest of the region and to more easily export goods from Tinney Mine. In addition, the mayor has also sold a small portion of land to developers, specifically designated for commercial and entertainment usage, finally bringing groceries within walking distance of Tinney. Let's dive in. So we're going to start with the cargo trains, and obviously our main rail yard is over here. So we want to be connecting in this cargo hub into our new cargo hub so that we can transport goods between the 2 areas of the region. So this all connects into this international train line which runs, autosave, alongside the river here. So I'm thinking at this point where it actually widens out against the highway, which probably will be upgraded to a larger capacity highway eventually, I think this may be a good opportunity for us to split it off round about here and have the train line running across and through this natural valley in the hillside at this point, and then we can run it round the bottom of the hillside and into a cargo station right here to support the ore mine and the small industrial area that we have in Tinney. Now, spoiler alert, but the airport is going to be positioned in this part of the map too, so we need to bear that in mind, and that's why we're going to need to hug the hillsides so that we're not interfering on this massive open space, which is the best possible place for us to put an airport. And realistically, the only space, unless we want to put it smack bang in the middle of the downtown. So that's something to consider as we come in and build it. Now, the other thing I want to point out here is I don't really want all of this ore being exported. I'm going to use the main cargo hub over here as the export centre. So I'm only going to connect the track in from this direction, not going out into this direction. But instead of just a bog standard connection where actually the rails are crossing, let's try something a little bit more fancy, shall we? So I'm going to take my double train track to start off with. I'm going to make sure it's forced to ground using Anarchy, and then I'm going to raise it up by 8.75. Then we're going to add in quite a nice smooth bend from which we can connect into. So round about here, let's also put constant slope on as well so that we're not kind of going up and down all over the landscape here because it's a bit undulating. And that will force it to the ground, so the ground is now raised up around that train track rather than having a bridge here, and we can come out and smooth that in just a second. And then we're going to grab our one-way train tracks, and let's go back down to surface level. We'll take off force to ground now, and we're going to create individual connections from each direction, just so those trains aren't crossing over the actual main track. So we probably need to come back a little bit further to make this nice and smooth for the trains. And we're just going to raise it up slightly, so a nice gentle enough slope for us. So I need this to be 8.5, and we want it to align nicely to that side of the track there. So we're going to place this in like so. That's a 3.2% slope, which is about on the limit of what a train can actually handle, but I think that's okay. And then we're going to connect it into this side. So that's going to take them nicely in that direction. Then we'll come back down, we'll connect onto this side here to smooth this into this direction. So what's our slope like there? Minus 2.8, that's okay. Now that has not worked nicely, so let's try that again. Okay, so that's better, that's nice and smooth, and now we can just simply follow this rail line on across the highway, across the valley, and up through this little gap. And actually, as I do this, I'm going to lower it down to a 3.75 metre raise up against the terrain, just so we're getting this raised bank train line through this valley area. So if we ever develop in here, I think that's going to be quite a nice feature for it. And it means we're not having to come down too far in terms of the slope as well and managing all of that. And then we can go back through and upgrade certain segments to areas of bridge, like here, for example. I think that would be quite nice to have a little bridge over the sort of valley area there. All of this can be snapped to ground. We've got a cut through at this point, which I think is quite nice. And again, we've got that raised segment down here, which I also think would be really nice to develop along. It's just slightly raised versus the regular terrain here. So for the cargo station, we're going to use one of T-Gon's assets again, the medium train general freight yard. Now I'm using general freight rather than ore because we do have this industry here, and it is a mixture of products. Like there's things like vehicles and beverages and stuff like that in here. So the general freight is going to be able to take everything, which I think will be useful for this area. So we do need a bit of flat land for this. We'll grab our train cargo yard. And we're going to leave a little bit of a gap in between where the highway is going to go, so we could add some warehouses and some extra industry around it. I definitely think warehouses is needed in this area, actually. Particularly with the latest update, it does seem like that's the case. Like we need to actually store goods, and we actually don't have any apart from the ore storage warehouses, which are obviously specific to the mining goods. So some more general warehouses along the back of the actual cargo rail yard here I think will be a nice touch. We'll come on to that in just a second. Let's smooth all of this out and get this rail line connected in. Like that. And then, of course, we need a road for it. So let's go for an alleyway road that's going to run along the front of the cargo hub like this. And we are actually going to cross across those rail lines, like I mentioned, to get some warehouse-style buildings in the back here. So something along those lines. And then we could go ahead and just smooth off this landscape here. Let's make sure this highway isn't forgotten about as well. So we'll bring down our connection here, like that. And then we need to get this road somehow in at the top. So let's just trim that back off a little bit. And if we smooth out this top section, but I also do want to potentially get some more buildings in here. So we're going to push back that flat area a little bit, particularly at this end. And if we grab our regular road again, let's turn contours on for this. And we are flat to ground. We've also got constant slope on. So let's bend it down. And I think we'll have this continuing off in this direction like so. And then we can create a couple of junctions which are going to feed into this space. There could be something as simple as that. It's quite a steepish. I mean, 4% slope down. Yeah, that's not too bad. And then we could also maybe have something out this end like that. Then I'll just grab that road and add a little end so that we remember it can continue on in this direction as well. Now, I have just noticed the rail dips down here a little bit, so let's change that. We might need to just smooth out some of these sections as well. I don't think the slope is too steep there for rail, so I think we're okay from that perspective. It's more making sure we don't have a sudden dip coming out of the actual cargo rail yard. But there we go. Okay, so I think that's all right. I would also like to sort of honour these back entrances here a little bit. So let's just add in a couple of alleyway entrances here, so we remember to keep those free. And then we'll go ahead and add in some warehouse zoning around here. Okay, so we got ourselves a very simple little cargo rail yard in here with a bit of storage, although it does seem like none of the warehouses are actually being occupied. So there we go. Did add a couple of little offices in here because office demand seems to be very high at the moment. And then just extended it out with some props around the back. So basic, simple, but all right, I think. Now, of course, we need to get in a cargo rail line to make sure it's actually functional. And it occurred to me, I've never actually tried to do this. Like, I've never actually connected up a cargo rail stop internally to another one without it kind of going out of the city. So I'm not entirely sure how this is going to work, but that's a new waypoint there. Is that a stop? I'm not sure. Let's find out. Complete route. Okay. So will it actually transport cargo between terminals? I mean, I feel like it should, but again, I've never actually tried it. So we'll kind of see what this is like. This is going to be the Tinney to Fewhaven cargo line. Now we do have one train on it at the moment. So I think, so that's 1, 2, 3 there. And we've got 3 on the passenger routes. And I'm pretty sure the capacity of our train hub yard, which I can't click on because there's so many decals on this building. I actually struggle to find it. There we go. Yeah, we do have 6, so they are all in use. So let's just keep an eye on that line. I want to make sure it doesn't go over one train. Like, it definitely doesn't need to be one train. So let's have a look. Assigned vehicles 1 out of 6. Yes, fine. Oh wait, hang on. That's Funilla County to Gaudy Bay. So actually, yeah, it's saying 2. So we're going to lower that down. We're going to say only 1 on this line, so we're not getting over the capacity. So there is cargo at both terminals, so I feel like that should be okay. We'll come back and take a little look at this a bit later on and make sure it's all working as intended. But, I mean, there's vans bringing cargo into it. There's cargo being stored here now too. That's obviously the variety of things that we're making in this area. No ore, actually. Would it have ore if it's just... It says all types of goods. I assume it can handle ore as well. If it doesn't, then that's a bit of a blow. We might have to switch it out for the actual ore one, but that would be very easy to do. So let's see how it goes anyway. And there we go. I have just seen we have got a cargo train heading on round to Tinney, so clearly it is working. So next up, let's address all of the other issues that we have around Tinney, and starting off with the passenger rail service. So of course we have our line coming from Fewhaven in the middle here, heading on out through the suburb, round onto this track and out in this direction. So I think, again, from here, this would be the perfect opportunity to divert it off, maybe across this hillside, because we need to raise it up over the highway at the end of the day. So we could run it around this little ridge here, follow this highway round, actually, and bring it up into a station this side of Tinney, because then we do have the option to bring it out along the bottom of our mountainside over here and down into the downtown. Or what will become a downtown, should I say, in future episodes. Now, around this, I also want to create a whole kind of leisure district. Let's give Tinney something worthwhile to be in the area for, something to do, something nice and fun. So we're going to be adding a number of buildings from the Leisure Venues Content Creator Pack, as well as things like supermarkets. I think another Morrissey's over here is highly due. Post office, of course, and we're going to need to add post boxes. And a lovely suggestion which came in from Jay Stokes, which was about a biker bar. So we're going to come on to that in just a second. But before we do that, if you are interested in picking up Leisure Venues, Mediterranean Heritage, Dragon Gate, or indeed any of the other Cities Skylines content creator packs, including the base game, which is at a massive 60% discount right now, or a whole host of other games, including Farming Simulator, Civilization 7, the whole Sims shebang, Planet Zoo and all of its corresponding DLCs, go and check out my link to Instant Gaming in the description below, where you can also find a link to our monthly giveaway and bag yourself a deal on a whole host of amazing games, which also helps to support the channel. Okay, so let's get our rail line in, and we have got this intersection here which comes out of the rail yard, so I'm conscious I don't want to do it too close to that, but we need enough space to reasonably turn for a train over here. And unlike the other intersection, I am just going to make this one a bit of a slightly less realistic, bog standard intersection, unfortunately. But I will endeavour to make sure that those slopes aren't too much, so we're going to, or let's make sure we've got constant slope on. We're going to do that to a 2.6% incline like that. 2.7 if we headed a little bit more towards the highway, like so. And then we're going to bend this round here So let's have a reasonably smooth-ish bend if we can, and we're going to drop this back down to ground level now. So we'll try and keep this as flat as possible as we go over the highway like so. And then again here we're going to keep it as flat as we feasibly can as we come round this bend. So that feels quite nice actually. And then what we can do is start snaking it along the edge of this hillside here. Now I have got constant slope on, so actually if we just do a straight section like this, it will reshape the terrain around it. Of course, then we can always terraform and whatnot afterwards. And we are going to need to go up a little bit here. So a 1% slope as we come around like that, I think is okay. I'm conscious we may want a station in this spot as well, but again, we might have to just terraform around that rather than worrying too much about it for now. And my goodness, if there is a mod that can stop the overlapping of some of the details and the precision engineering when you're putting in these roads and rail lines, oh, that would be a godsend, honestly. So to get it round to here, actually, that's a 2.8% incline. Like, we're going right through the hill there, so we could potentially make that section a small bit of tunnel. Could be quite nice. So let's just place that in and we can change that afterwards. And then what we're going to want to do is try and follow this road as closely as we possibly can through this hillside, down on round and in. So we're going to have to do a little touch of terraforming here where we just make this nice cut through to get this to work well, but it's possible. Okay, so we have that in, and I have just done a tiny bit of sorting out. So we've got the line, it's pretty nice and smooth actually as it comes around here. I have managed to get a very dodgy looking tunnel in here, but it does now tunnel through, which isn't too bad. Comes through this gap, which needs still a bit more tidying up, and then we got a nice retaining wall along the side here as the road starts to dip away, and the train obviously flows around here a bit because it can't go down that fast. Comes across in a nice viaduct style bridge close to the water here. Probably terraform this out when we come to build this area. And then comes on round, nice gentle slope down into this area where we'll have the station. So I think we're going to go for the modern architecture local station for this. I don't think we really require anything more substantial than this in this area. So I think that'll be quite nice, and we could place it in there. I'm not entirely sure if it's exactly equal to this road, but that's fine, we'll work with it. And now, of course, we want to connect it up, and I'm actually thinking we might do a crossroads. I mean, this is an American area after all, so we're going to do a crossroads intersection at this point here. And we'll have a road coming, and then a road coming out across the front of the station. And this is where I would like to have quite a big sort of commercial strip, entertainment style area. That I think will work quite nicely for Tinney, give them something extra to do. And we could do something like this with a bit of a kind of parking road, frontage road, I think, along here. Let's grab our parking road alleys and we'll place these in. So I think we might actually have a massive strip of it along here. So let's do something like that for the moment. Wonderful, we didn't have anarchy on for once. The trees are gone. Marvellous stuff. And if we come into our signature buildings, we've got a whole host of leisure buildings here. Now, I think the one that I do want to go for, Cine Vista, I definitely think we want a Cine Vista along here. This could actually be in its own little complex down this side. So, yeah, we'll just drop it in there for a second, and then we'll come back to that. And actually, let's grab an alleyway road and connect this in. We'll make it slightly more interesting and bring it up that side. And actually, sorry, before I forget, let's drop in a post office because that is definitely needed here. Now, we've got the Japanese post office. We do have the default one, which is quite big and actually doesn't have parking on it. So might work quite nicely here. I'm actually just thinking now the post office definitely wouldn't want to be on that road. So maybe we have the post office up this side. It is huge though. It's big overkill, but anyway, it'll be fine. It'll serve a large proportion of this area as we continue to expand out, so that'll do nicely. We could maybe have some more regular commercial in here, definitely a motel of some description. And actually, do you know what? This one looks really cute because on the parking lot road, it actually gets rid of some of those parking spaces where it connects into the road, which I love. So then we kind of get this indented car parking area just off the parking strip into the motel, so that is 100% going there. And then I'm actually thinking a mixture of Southwest US with some of the Japanese buildings here. They're just very kind of nondescript and diverse, so I like the way they look for a kind of commercial strip like this. I think it works pretty well. Oh yes, I love that one. That one can definitely go in with the circle there. It's a shame there isn't one that actually mirrors that. That would be super cool to see. And we can just finish it off there, and we'll grab our alleyway road and we can go back around the commercial this side. Now with these as well, and it's something actually I failed to do in the other area, we're going to grab all of these. The motel can stay because that's connected quite nicely, and we're just going to drag them back a little bit so it gives us some pavement room outside the front to detail with in just a second. But that gives a nice load of commercial. My goodness, oh, it's because whenever the road maintenance vehicles come down this road, they block the lane, so this, yeah, is a bit of a problem. I think the highway project may end up being a little bit sooner than we think to bring in, well, more lanes of traffic, dare I say it, into the area. Okay, let's come back to the cinema here. This is a fantastic asset. I'm just wondering where the best place for it is. We could actually make the car park sort of opposite our car park entrance over there. Gives us a bit more space around there to detail with. It feels like it's got a nice front though that's being a little bit wasted with the post office the other side. So I think actually the cinema, we're going to change the position of this. Let's actually put it opposite the station over here. If we can get this to fit behind the commercial, we might just have to adjust those commercials slightly closer to the road, but that's fine. We've got plenty of room to move them a touch at least. So yeah, let's drop this in here like that, and then that's quite nice when you come out the station. You've got the cinema there. And then the other thing I would like to add in here is the muscle car garage. We haven't used this yet, and it's a freaking awesome asset, so I think it could go in here, potentially with the biker bar the other side of it. Yeah, okay, we're going to do it. We're going to drop this in here, and then we're going to put our biker bar up against the highway over here, which I think will be pretty cool. So I think what I'm going to use for that is actually the Riverside Grill, and of course it doesn't fit now. Of course it doesn't fit. Ah, wonderful. Right, let's drop that in. Let's grab this one and shift it around this way. And that is the beauty of Move It. We can constantly adjust until we get exactly what we want. So yeah, there we go. I really like this asset. Like, it's got the little outside seating. I think we could definitely have a stream of bike props out the back here. A little space for some trash and dirty up a little bit. Definitely a load of bikes in this sort of front courtyard bit, and even we could extend it on around the front here and just make it into this really cool little biker bar up against the highway, right next to the muscle car garage as well, so which I feel like is kind of a nice touch, I suppose, for that. I'm surprised there's not more signage on this. I might add a little bit. And it definitely needs dirtying up as well, so that will come. That will come. And of course the other thing I did mention was Morrissey's, which actually fits really rather nicely on this corner here. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to turn off snapping to roads for this. We're going to place it in with a nice small little green border up against those highways there. Just like that. And then this road here, in fact actually we could probably angle that a little bit better so it goes straight into the service area of the supermarket, but we can adjust afterwards. In fact, we could actually can we do a slight angle here? Wrap it round this way and join it into this road here. Yeah, that's good. We do now have a little bit of an awkward gap out here, so I think we could add in some more parking into this point and kind of extend that Morrissey's car park a little bit further, and also the parking around the strip, I guess, too. Yeah, because we have a nice bit of space in there. Oh, the ground is really funky here. I didn't notice that. Right, that's going to take some sorting out. All right, that's better. That is better. Okay, so we've got a few more spots to fill in here, but you kind of get the picture of what we want to do with this area. Just shopping, a bit more entertainment, a sort of larger commercial district out of town in support of the train station. But of course, let's not forget the train, shall we, here? Because I think we're going to need to do a little bit of a line rework to get this in nicely. So at the moment, we have a line going from Fewcandy County, which I think is out in this direction. Yes, to Gaudy Bay. Then we've got another one, which is Oregon to Atkinson, so out this direction. So I think this is the one that we ought to actually change. And instead of it going on to Oregon, it needs to actually come out into Tinney. So let's, it is this route, isn't it? Yeah, that's passenger rail. So let's drag to insert a new waypoint and see if we can just add a stop in up here. Which we can, wonderful. But then they're going to come out of Tinney and kind of go back into the town and not out to Oregon. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. In fact, you know what? let's not overcomplicate it. Let's delete this line. Let's pause the game. We're going to delete Fewcandy County to Gaudy Bay and we're going to re-put it in. Okay, so after realising I had deleted entirely the wrong line, we've redone all of them now. So we've got Atkinson to Tinney. So it runs from Atkinson through Fewhaven, out to Tinney and back again. One from Oregon to Fewhaven, which is just purely going to be an intercity connection line, which will be deleted further down the line, so they can go Oregon into the downtown ultimately. And then we've got Gaudy Bay through Fewhaven out to Fewcandy County. So we do just need to let it run and make sure we've got a correct number of trains on there. So we're using 3 trains for cargo, which kind of only leaves us with 3 trains for all of these, which may be a little bit problematic. So the other thing we can do with Tegon's amazing rail yard, and thanks to Tegon again for flagging this. What was that? Oh, we were on 3 speed, right? Yeah, okay. I was going to say that was a very speedy train there. We can add an extra track in, as I understand, at this side. So it would be right here where we've actually already got a line in. Is that going to snap in correctly? Is this going to work? I'm actually not 100% sure, but let's try it. So we do now have a train overlap. Okay, as it just, yeah, it's going to go. So it's not going to sit there, thankfully. So it won't sit over our prop trains. Oh no, what are you doing? What are you doing? But okay, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So now if we have a look at this, yeah, we have got a capacity of 7. So that should be pretty good, actually. We'll have 2 on Atkinson to Tinney for our internal line, 1 on Oregon to Fewhaven and 1 on Gaudy Bay to Fewcandy County. That's kind of my ideal here. So that would be 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, correct. Okay, good. So let's just check that they're not trying to use too many cars. So yeah, they are. So we're going to reduce you down to 6. I also want to raise up the ticket price a bit, you know, like I feel like we need to make a bit more money off our public transit. And our citizens' household wealth is actually really very good. So I think they can afford a $35 train ticket. Why not? So yeah, that's adjusted. Now Atkinson to Tinney has taken 3 trains, which is leaving Gaudy Bay to Fewcandy with nothing. But I have lowered that down to 2 now, so that should correct over time when the train gets back to the yard, and we should be all right there. Okay, so, well, there we go. We're going to have passengers shortly coming into this station, which is quite exciting. Now, of course, the other issue is, like, pedestrian connectivity here is not very good. We're going over, essentially, what is actually a highway road. So I definitely think we want to add in a few little pedestrian bridges along here too. Something like that would be good for there. And we could even add in like a bit of a back alley that goes round the post office, which might be kind of cool. So let's add in a pedestrian path here and we'll go all the way up to this point, and we will actually make a crossing next to the station here too. So people could come over the bridge and then go down the back alley to get out to the station. We've also got this space here, so we need to add in some more car parks and some more facilities, a tiny bit more commercial in here to finish off this area. And there is a bit of detailing to do around the network. So the biker bar, obviously, our muscle car garage, the station as well, because actually this is fairly plain here. I feel like we could do something with that space. We could add some more commercial or something. Maybe even some more housing, potentially. I mean, we've got demand for it, or offices indeed as well. We've got demand for everything. Not doing too bad on the money front as well. 25,000 almost per hour. So things are looking up. Now, one final thing before we detail is the radio tower. Let's make sure we're giving them internet connectivity to the region. Now, several of you mentioned we could just turn this one off now, and I think that is a great shout. But do you know what I'm actually going to do? I'm going to relocate it rather than turning it off. And we're going to place in an old one to show it's kind of decommissioned and it was still there at some point. Okay, right, let's get our heat map on for this, actually, before we go ahead and move it. So we're going to relocate it over to the town of Tinney, which, as you can see at the moment, has absolutely zero internet connectivity, which is not great. And actually, I was kind of thinking, like, ordinarily radio masts should be at the top of hills, but it doesn't really spread around the area that efficiently. Like, the best place for it to be would realistically be here, up next to the highway. So that is what I'm going to do in this case. I think it's just a small local radio mast, so I don't know if that's too highly unrealistic. I mean, maybe it is. Maybe you guys will tell me off for this, but either way, this is what we're going to do because it's going to give us the best coverage for our citizens here. So we are actually going to add both of these boosters onto here because it is only the small radio mast, so we want to make sure we've got enough decent connection. And as you can see now, that nicely covers the entire town. The industry is a little bit left out, but as I did briefly mention earlier, spoiler alert, we're going to have the airport out here, so there will definitely be more radio masks down that end eventually. But this gives us some nice coverage, at least for Tinney, and Gaudy Bay aren't missing out on anything over here. So if we come back into our vanilla ploppables, we can get our old little radio mast as a prop and add this in here to symbolise where it once was, and we can do a tiny touch of detailing around that just to give it a nice little base there. But we've still got our old decommissioned Gaudy Bay radio mast, and now of course our brand new one over in Tinney. So a little bit of a smaller detailing session now coming up compared to the last few episodes, but let's dive right in and give ourselves a really awesome little out-of-town commercial centre. Rude interruption just before we begin, but what is this? Our 5-star country hotel has been occupied by the Bed Bug Hostel. I'll leave you with that as we detail. So there we go, we have our little extension to the town of Tinney. And first up, just to point out, the train station is getting a really, really decent amount of use, which is great to see. We actually click on the line here. It's annoying it doesn't show the name of the station, because I have just changed this, but this is this one, so 90 passengers waiting. And we can see if we click on train, there's, well, 96 people out of 840. Wow, that is quite a lot. And that one's just heading back over into Few Haven. Oh dear, there has been some form of crash over. Oh wow, we've still got pillars in the ground. In fact, actually, do you know what? I have not done anything with this rail yard, so that is definitely going to be a stream job as we come in and start doing the occasional little stream for random jobs like that need filling out. But anyway, let's get back to Tinney. So yes, rail seems to be a success at least. Loads of people using it. We seem to have this constant flow of people as well, walking down this side alley, as you can see here, and across this bridge, which tells me we very much need some more kind of local transport probably going in and out of the suburb. Although I do quite like watching the walkability though, this is the trouble. But I'm thinking, and patrons and members will know a little bit more about this from the last Behind the Scenes episode, where we were talking about infrastructure planning, but I think we're going to have trams, I think, come into here, so probably cross somewhere over the rail yard at this point, and then go up this main road into Tinney, round the circle, across past the high school and out to the industrial yard. I think that might be needed in this area just to help people get around, because it is a lot of people walking. And oh hello, we have a train in the station. You can see just the amount of people here as well. It's great. It's absolutely great to see. Love these smaller local trains, although it does look like they're sort of having to fly down off the platform from this station onto it. But anyway, there we go. But there does seem to be a flood of activity in the area anyway. So yes, we've got the cinema in here. Not really too much has happened to that. I just joined the back of it onto these offices that I plopped in here. Some of the US Southwest Pack offices. Great little assets. Slotted them in nicely with a small car park. And I managed to add a little bit of a back entrance commercial detailing in here. Although I realised actually these assets don't have any sort of commercial warehouse style doors on the back of them, so it's maybe a little bit wasted, but it's cool anyway. Then as we come to the front of the commercial, we've just tidied up the front of this with some walls and some bushes and things along the road. I actually added these tall pine trees because I thought these houses along here, they're actually higher level houses, some nicer, more expensive housing. I mean, they've even got a lovely muscle car, sports car in their driveway, wonderful. But I thought they could probably use, oh hello, there's people walking across the bridge, well that's wonderful. But yeah, I thought they could use a little bit of a tree noise shelter from this sort of local highway road that we have here. And then as we come on down the commercial strip, I changed the colours of this building away from the garish pink. Dare I say it, 'cause pink's, you know, what we're all about here, but slightly more tasteful, but still bright. Blue and teal colour there. And then we've got some nice street decorations. I've just tidied up these surfaces outside the front of the commercial assets along here, but I think that works quite well. And yes, car parking was a little out of whack there. We need to fix that. But yes, it's an excessive amount of car parking. I totally and utterly realise that. But actually, it's nowhere near as much as some of the areas that I was looking at on Google Earth in similar spaces around Philadelphia. So I'm content with it. I'm content with it. And we do have cars parking in them, and there are people using them. And quick note, actually, on these car parks as well. So Morrissey's, I tried to make it look like there was actually one of our sort of alleyway roads going down into the car park by adding all of the markings on here, which I think helps. So it sort of looks like this could be an extension of the parking for Morrissey's now, in my opinion at least anyway. So I think that's worked quite well. And then down the back here, I did actually add in a little fast food restaurant on the corner. So we've got Damien Bite here, with a floating sign. Wonderful stuff, wonderful. And then we do have a gas station, of course, why not? It's next to the highway here, and then just like a construction yard plot. Something a little bit different, fill that space, look like it is being developed into something over time. And then around the station, I actually added in this Japanese mixed use asset in here, which I thought was kind of nice and brick and blocky, a little bit similar to some of these other brick assets that we've got, the offices and the train station over here. And then a bit of row housing, because I do want this to sort of build up in density a little bit. If we take a look at demand, we really hugely need people. We're actually already on what they're calling a huge city, and we're barely at 37,000 population. So we're gonna need some higher density homes and just more of that. So I thought I'd build up in density maybe towards the waterfront here. I know we're doing natural development, so I will come up with a plan as to why that might happen in this event. But there we go, we've got some sort of more compact homes, some smaller homes in here as well. This US Southwest Pack condo building, love that, medium use, and then this China medium density. Medium use? Medium density, that's what I meant. The Chinese medium density house over here. Added a little bit of parking and some plant pots for decoration, why not, out the back. And then I did switch around this bit, so actually we've got Pinfall Palace in here too, because I thought we actually only had the cinema as the entertainment factor to this. So we've now got the cinema and the Pinfall Palace, which I think is quite a nice little combination. So the youths of Tinney can go to the cinema or take a date to the Pinfall Palace for a spot of bowling or something like that. And then down here we have got a gas station in here now, which I thought was kind of a nice little smaller one, which could suit our biker bar. I actually didn't end up doing too much to this other than adding in all of the bike props and a couple of sort of wear decals onto the car park, because I thought it was actually all that it needed. Like, it's a really, really nice building, nice asset as it is. So I thought that just was the touch that it needs, with a few bikes around the back. Maybe the gang are gathering. Is it gang owned? I don't know. We need some lore around that. And then, yeah, I shifted over the muscle car garage to next to it, which I think is quite nice. And this can finish off this little cul-de-sac end over here, just at the muscle car garage. I've no idea what's happening on with that sign. It's like, yeah, wow, incredibly bright, using up half of Philadelphia's electricity by the looks of it. But again, not much has happened with this. I was actually struggling with a bit of a bug, I'm assuming, with Find It, where I actually can't place any billboards, because I wanted to add some more billboards, in particular some of those tower billboards actually up against the highway that you see quite commonly in America. I thought would suit this area quite well, but I can't at the moment, so watch this space. We may come in and add that and add a bit more signage around the muscle car garage, which I thought would be nice. But that is it for now. So I think it sits into the edge quite well, particularly complementing our strip mall. Yes, I do know, I have heard of a strip mall for some reason when I was recording. Maybe it's my cold and chest infection at the moment, but I could not think of that word, so that's why I said little box. But yeah, our strip mall over here, I think it maybe complements that quite nicely on the outskirts here, particularly with the train running through. I'm imagining the other side of the train will probably have some similar commercial, industrial office park type vibe, maybe, to sort of extend this block of public space essentially on the outskirts of Tinney here, before we then develop into whatever else is to come further down the line. So for today, that is going to be it. If you have enjoyed the episode, likes, comments and shares I really greatly appreciate. I apologise again for my croaky, scratchy voice. Hopefully that will be better for the next episode. But thank you for bearing with me, and don't forget to check out Instant Gaming, linked in the description below. But that is all from me for now, and I'll catch you again very soon. Bye bye.